Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Trax on Blitz, and in today's video we are taking a quick look at the Magnus, which is the brand new tier 6 American heavy collectible tank, and it is also the main reward of the Operation Coliseum Battle Pass. Before we jump into the review, however, if you like this kind of content, please like, share and subscribe, and especially comment under my videos what kind of content you would like me to cover in the future. First I will go over the characteristics and then I will show you a replay so that you can see how the tank is played best. First of all, the survivability. If you compare it to the M6, it becomes very apparent that this tank is actually a reskinned M6. So you have a little bit less turret armor compared to the M6, but a little bit better hull armor, which I think, in my opinion, works a little bit in favor for the Magnus. Also the sides 86mm and the rear with 41mm, so these aren't really strong, especially if the enemies aim at it at a 90-degree angle. So you want to stay frontally in front of your enemies, and if you can, you just want to show your turret and your upper plate. So the playstyle of this is pretty much the playstyle for a lot of American tanks, and that is hold down. You want to expose only your turret. Also, quick side note. These platings here that you can see and on the turret as well, that is actually spaced armor. In raw millimeters, I think it's just like 5mm or something. However, it prevents, especially your sides here, from getting penetrated with HE, or even your turret from getting penetrated with heat. So that's a nice little bonus. As I said before, you want to play the tank in hull down, and what actually aids you in that is the 10 degrees of gun depression, which is just amazing. The gun overall is, I want to say, fairly average, so it has a decent damage per minute, the reload time of 8.34 seconds. This is before provisions and anything, so it goes down a little bit. I think if you add calibrated shells, which in my opinion you can do, but you don't have to, but with Cali you have a reload of 7.9 seconds, which is a little bit faster. However, you could actually try out the gun rammer. So that's like what works best for you. In my opinion, I would run calibrated because there's a high chance you go up against other heavy tanks, and yeah, it would be better if you have a higher chance of penetrating them. You see 160mm, as I said before, that's actually quite sufficient for most tier 6 targets. If it's not enough, you just switch to the APCR, and 243mm, that can in tier 6 go through pretty much everything frontally and most of the tier 7 targets, and you get 225 average damage, which is also kinda nice in tier 6. That means you can out-trade a lot of opponents. Two things that I do not like about the tank is, first of all, the aiming time with 5 seconds. That is very, very long. So you should get the right equipment to get this down to, I think, 4 seconds with provisions and equipment. And the dispersion is also not the greatest. However, this tank is best used, in my opinion, in mid to close range. So it's better to bring the aiming time down. And if you use it in mid to close range, the dispersion with 0.34 after equipment is not really the problem. Yeah, as I said before, you have 10 degrees of gun depression, so you want to go in a hull down position, you want to pull out a little bit, only show your turret, shoot the enemy, and then pull back. Because what you can see with the maneuverability is, even though you have 38 kilometers forward, the problem of the tank, in my opinion, with the speed is actually the reverse, with 10 kilometers an hour. So it takes ages for you to get back into cover if you pull out around a corner. This is also another strong argument for playing hull down and only exposing your turret and maybe a little bit your upper plate, because it makes it so much easier for you to pull back into cover while still having strong protection on your turret. Because if you use this tank around corners, it takes very long time for you to get back into cover and you will be obliterated. If you become isolated from your team, which is something that you should never be in any tank, in my opinion, never be completely isolated. However, in this tank, if you are completely isolated, you are done. That's GG well played. Because yeah, the speed on this tank will not allow you to rejoin with your team, so always make sure that you have some backup and some support from your team. That was it so far with the review. The next thing I want to show you is a quick replay. And we are watching Napoleon blown apart. First of all, points for creativity, boys, because I actually like this. I like the nickname a lot. He finds himself on vineyards, and as you can see from the lineup, he is bottom tier. So bottom tier, this tank becomes a lot more difficult to play in my opinion. If you are top tier, your armor does a very solid job. If you are bottom tier, especially against something like an Annihilator, you have to be really careful. And this is what Napoleon does here. So in the beginning, he knows that if he goes to the heavy side and he comes up against an Annihilator, yeah, he's pretty much done for, because that Annihilator can kill him in 30 seconds or so. So what he's first waiting for is for his team to spot for him, because he has a Dracula, he has a Type 62 Dragon, and now that the whole enemy team is spotted, he can actually make his move. He's still trying to stay with his team, and yeah, now he's getting into position, and especially on Vineyards, which is a very hilly map, there are a lot of hull down positions. However, this one in the middle here, that is a great one, and yeah, this is all you should do. You see, he already bounced a shot. I think it was on the turret, and yeah, now he's staying hull down. The enemies can only see his turret, and he can pull out, take shots, and then pull back into cover. You see the Annihilator tries to shoot him, but the accuracy on the Annihilator isn't even good enough to shoot him on mid-range. So he absolutely has the advantage here, because the Annihilator is on flat ground and needs to pull out a lot, and he can actually just pull out a little bit, drive forward, and then go back in cover. And this is what he does here. And yeah, that's everything I can tell you about the playstyle of this tank. And he does it perfectly here, because yeah, he always has shots, but he doesn't take a lot of risks, so he only exposes his turret. And yeah, that's the playstyle. All of the enemy tanks, they need to move now, because they cannot penetrate him. They don't even focus him, because there's no point to. They try to aim at him, try to shoot, but they know they cannot penetrate. And yeah, that's the playstyle you want to have. You want to go hull down, but especially when you are bottom tier, you do not want to go against enemy heavy tanks that are tier higher, especially not if they are smashers or annihilators, because they will absolutely tear you apart. So yeah, the game unfolds. You can see his team is actually doing very well. They won the medium side, and he's staying hull down, because yeah, that's where his tank is best, and so that's what he does. And now that the game is pretty much won, and he can go in. However, you can also see, yeah, the maneuverability on the tank is really not that good. So even though he goes full speed and tries to catch all the enemies, he gets a lot of shots off. He ends on 2.5k damage, which is very good in my opinion for a tier 6 tank, especially given the fact that it was a very slow start. However, you saw he went into a hull down position, and that's where he stayed, because that's where his tank was best. And you can see with the team overall, the team did very well. The enemy team didn't do so well, especially the heavy tanks, because they were out in the open, and Napoleon had a lot of good shots at them. Little thing that I want to highlight is the tank actually earns very nice credits. 51,000 in a tier 6 match, in my opinion, is a very nice amount. That was it so far from the review. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did so, please like, share and subscribe. I hope to see you in the next one, and goodbye.